Okay, good afternoon everyone. We'll begin the presentation with a short video from Alfresco's... We're going to begin the presentation today with a short video from Alfresco's co-founder, Tom Newton.
The last decade has seen dramatic changes in the way we work, more than at any time since the Victorian era, and the pace of change will only get faster. I'm John Newton, and in this short film, we'll investigate how these changes are affecting us all. Since the introduction of the computer, technology has been setting the pace to how users use information, use the devices that access that information. It's not necessarily going to be about the science anymore, the complexity, the technology-ness, the geekiness of the technology. It's really going to be about creativity. It's going to be about the artistic side rather than just the technical side.
When you walk into an office in 2020, you're going to see rooms that are covered with flat panel displays. They'll all be touch sensitive, and there'll be cameras in these rooms that will be able to see what you're doing and know where you're pointing. There'll be microphones. They'll be able to listen to the things that you say, and not only listen, but be able to understand. You're going to rely on the room almost as much as you're going to rely on your colleagues as technology gets better and as it gets smarter. We as humans get to interact with it more like ourselves. So in that sense, we will use technology, but we'll use it in a very familiar way.
It'll be a very different office than we've known in the past. There'll be much more focus on pods. Technology will be ubiquitous. The technology will be pervasive through the entire office. It will allow essentially to anticipate the kinds of needs that we have in an office, and it will really be driven towards facilitating the interpersonal communications that sometimes are a little stilted on video or conference calls. 10 years is a long time. I mean, when you think about the fact that the iPhone was invented only 6 years ago, think about all the change that represents. So 10 years is a long time. Content and information necessary to the job that we're trying to do, to the decision that we're trying to make at the right place at the right time will magically appear because the technology is good enough and smart enough and intelligent enough to deliver that information at the right point.
You can start to improve the efficiency of normal office workers. So whether it's me being on a conference call and someone says, have you got this file, or have you got this document, or have you got this report, and my system being able to understand that and actually start to give me that information, something which I'm sure happens to all of us, and actually put it in front of me almost before I'm able to type in and search for it, that's extremely powerful. What we can start to do is break down the silos that normally exist within an organization, and rather than me as an individual having to do lots of things, the system can start to say, well actually, Matt is particularly good at this, or particularly good at this, but less good at these things, and so those things can be reallocated to someone else.
Of course, technology is going to evolve. Of course, there's going to be new innovations. There's always been new innovations. But I actually think the next 10 years are going to be different. Whereas life became more complicated, usage of information, how we do our work, is actually going to become simpler. Technology is going to help us. Technology is going to be our friend in creating information, consuming information, and actually working together with each other in a way that kind of becomes more natural, feels easier.
When you walk into your office becomes aware of your presence. Your colleagues who are there will then also know that you're there because the office will let them know that you're there. I think the office in 2023 is not going to have just one intelligent assistant that's going to help you with the things that you care about. I think there's going to be intelligent assistants in every application that you might use, and every different meeting context that you use, and each will have a different area of expertise and be far more able to help you in those different domains. So if I open up my email program or whatever program I'm using to send messages to my colleagues, there'll be an intelligent assistant that knows all about my colleagues, how to send the messages, how to interpret my keystrokes or my voice commands. Some of them may be just in the background performing these intelligent acts on your behalf, and you won't even know it. Computing devices, computing technology will be everywhere. Every person will use dozens or even hundreds of different computing devices every single day.
Welcome to Parashift Alfresco Lunch and Learn, Canberra. Thank you very much for giving up your time today. And once again, that was John Newton, the co-founder of Alfresco, with some interesting insights on where he sees the world heading in the next several years. The iPhone only 6 or 7 years old, and it's changed since then. On behalf of everyone at Parashift, thank you for coming. Today, it's quite an interesting, presentation. Hopefully we can reward you for giving up your time today. We have Mark Dembo, there he is, the director of, if I get this right, very long title, and I'll just call you director. Also, we've got Luke Creswick and Andrew Coffey at the back from actually Alfresco Limited as well, to support us as well. So, Luke, Andrew, do you want to say hello or stand up?
Yeah, hi. Sorry. So, Andrew Coffey. I look after sales with Alfresco across APAC. So, again, I'd like to echo what Henri said. Thanks for taking the time out to have a look at this. I hope it's I find it interesting. My counterpart, from a technology perspective and architecture.
Yeah, so Luke Creswick, I'm Alfresco's business solutions architect. So I assist organisations in sort of aligning Alfresco capability to your requirements. I've got a long history in sort of enterprise content management, records management, so happy to chat and provide any insights in many projects I've done over a long period of time, but looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so just before we begin, some housekeeping. Event of an emergency, don't listen to us. Listen to the good staff of Novotel. Get out as quickly as possible. Talks just near the lift where you actually came through if you need to run out. And mobile phones, please turn them off or on silent so we don't check mine 3 times just in case. So I've said that once, my phone rang. So I've been burnt. Lunch and learn, which means please eat. So if you're still hungry, go out. We're going to have some more food presented shortly. So we don't want you passing out on our watch. So please eat and drink as much as you feel. Today's presentation is going to go quickly run through who we are, how do we fit into this. I'm then going to hand over to Henri Guillaume. Henri is actually our client director, who's going to walk you through Alfresco Records Management. Mark from my Access is going to talk a bit about the work that Alfresco / us have done actually there. And then we'll have a short break, and then we're going to really wow you guys with some technical stuff. Code, and we've got a strategy there on how we reckon we can try and solve some of the machinery government challenges when things change, moving content in and out a lot more easily. Okay? So to start with, who are we? We're actually an Adelaide-based company with a presence in most states, and with a very simple message of bringing order to chaos. We set up 3 years ago. The way we actually do that is through technology, through collaboration-based projects, and through ongoing support done locally. Our values, at the end of the day, is just simply to make a difference. The way that we deem to be making that difference is we actually play to win. So we're not here just to show up. We're here to win your business. We're here to solve the problems and challenges that you actually have. And we're here for long-term relationships. We're here to innovate, so not just accept the status quo. We're here to actually challenge the status quo, find out why you do things the way they are, and see if there's a better, more simpler way that makes more sense. And finally, we're here to respect, not only culturally, religious and all those sorts of things as well. We actually respect our partners, our employees, and also our competitors. And that's not done out of love or anything like that. We just don't want to underestimate them when we're competing. And that's really Parashift, headquartered in South Australia. Customers at the full gamut of in federal government, state government, in commercial lands, smaller businesses with a few hundred employees, and ones with in the thousands as well. So it's been quite an interesting journey for the 3 years. The fact that we actually are statistically 3 years old means that there is no risk in dealing with us now, because apparently all businesses that fail generally will hit that within the first year, about 80% to 90% the second year. So we've done pretty well. My job is the easiest job out of all. I work with great people, awesomely talented individuals. All my job is really to say how great they are, present them in front of you. We've partnered with an awesome company over there in Alfresco, massive and brilliant package which you're going to see shortly. As I said, it's the easiest job on the planet. And with that, I will now hand over to one of those brilliant people, Henri Guillaume. There is a test. Can anyone pick his accent? Henri.
Thank you, Kieran. Thank you. Welcome to this next session. I guess that just to let you know who I am, I come with 30 years of experience in the software industry, with the last 12 years spent solely on document management and learning management systems. I have been involved with records management to a much lesser extent than Luke, but for the last 3 years been working solidly with records management using Alfresco. So, what is records management? Records management is really the maintenance of records that have a long-term value for the organization. And so not just the creation, distribution, use and maintenance of those records, but also the disposition of the records according to strict rules. I have why is this important? It is important because of the Digital Continuity 2020 policy. That's just come out late last year. And the whole idea here is to get all agencies to be entirely digital by 2020. Okay? So clearly for some organizations it's going to be a tall task because of where they sit. And let's quickly look at a few statistics here. The first one, 1/3 of the agencies do not have a digital information strategy. They have not even sat down and thought, how are they going to manage their digital information? 40% duplicate the information in both digital and physical format. So you do the copy, you scan the copy, and then you keep the piece of paper. Look, it does work in some places. It kind of reminds me of the person who wanted to shred his documents. So he made copies of them before shredding, just in case. And 28% still print all of the information. This is the case in one particular state here in Australia, where all of the records have to be printed, regardless of whether they've been collected already in a digital form. So what I want to do here is to offer some insights into records management. And they're really about growth of content, access to information, and obviously compliance. So, growth of content, these figures come from the AIIM, which is the Association for Information and Image Management, and they estimate that the content will grow by 5-fold over the next 5 years. Now, this means that information is actually the lifeblood of every organization. Now, imagine if at this stage you're finding it difficult to find information, whether you've got the right version, whether you've got the information that you require. Imagine this becoming 5 times more complex because of volume. 60% of the respondents of the surveys that they run, and they run surveys in organizations of large and small size, 60% of the respondents reply that automation is the only way forward to manage that collection of information. And so provide a better search engine, provide a better way to file your record, provide a better way to manage that information, and you'll be able to get the value out of it. What about access to information? Now, 39% find that their biggest issue is being able to store the information in a logical way. Now think about it. As information grows, organizations have requested their IT department to basically just add another shared drive. And so they end up with a whole collection of shared drives, which become then a management headache. Which shared drive has been backed up, which one, where does the information sit? And so you have this idea of always having to manage that information instead of having it centrally located. 58% still store documents on their local drive and then share them by email. And we've all been there. We all know that once you send that email, and you have to look through the email to find the document that was sent to you. Is it the latest version? Or there might be another version after that. And you spend time and energy just doing that. Now, to this point, this little device here, as John Mancini mentioned, was launched in 2006, so that's 10 years ago now. But if you think about how has it changed your way of looking at information, chances are, by the end of breakfast, if not by the end of commute, you will have caught up with all of the messages that you need access to for the day's work. And that's completely changed the way that you need to access your information. What I'm saying is the legacy ways of accessing information are just out of date. Let's talk about compliance and governance. 61% find that the biggest driver is compliance. And that goes with 45% here of the respondents feel that their lack of governance leaves the organizations completely open to litigation. And this is my question. Where do you sit? Within the 45% or the 65%? Now, a modern records management system will address those particular challenges in its own way. Now, I'll make no bones about this. We're talking about Alfresco. The growth of content is managing all of the information within one umbrella. It doesn't mean that the information doesn't sit in various locations. That's something that we actually work on because you have some fast disks and you have some slower disks for backups, etc. But it's all managed under the one system, therefore making it easier to search, easier to find the information, easier to make decisions. Access to information is a gimme with Alfresco because it is there to enable the collaboration of information. The ability to be able to access your documents wherever you are, that's providing the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decisions. Alfresco has that collaboration concept, the ability to exchange documents, but also a way to get the documents to put them to work. In other words, to get somebody to take action on them. So it's within the document management system that you'll actually be able to allocate a task to somebody to get them to do something. So review and approve a document or take an action on them. And finally, compliance and governance. The records management system that comes with Alfresco has got a number of certifications. Of particular note is the VERSE certification that we created some years ago and we're very proud of. So, who is Alfresco? Alfresco is a company that started 10 years ago now. They've got over 1,800 customers in 212 countries. They've got over 7 billion documents under management. And the point that really gets me is this one here, 95% recurring subscription. Alfresco does not have a perpetual license. In other words, you don't buy it up front and then some years down the track you look and you go, oh my God, we're still locked into this crowd. What do we do now? They actually propose a renewal every year. And the reason they do this is because it forces them to actually add value to you as their client. If it doesn't offer any value, there's no reason for you to continue using them. So they have to work constantly on adding that value year after year. And this number here is extremely significant. It's one that Alfresco is very proud of and should be. The customers around the world who use them range from NASA, all the way to the Department of Defense, and we saw the certification there with the Department of Defense in the US. But closer to home, we have organizations like IASIS, who's present here. We have a variety of other organizations that are in the mining industry, in a road commission, with a council. So a collection of clients in a wide variety of industry sectors. What Alfresco offers is document management, is web content management, records management, but also services such as that ability to publish to social networks and have that collaboration in teams. All this within the realm of compliance. So talking about every activity within the system being audited, so you know exactly what's happening on the system at any point in time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a live demo. There's nothing like putting ourselves out there on a limb and showing you what we're actually going to do. What we'll do is, how are we going for time?
Yep.
A little bit of time, I think. So what we'll do is we'll look at the creation of a document, then looking at the editing of a document. We'll look at an approval, so a short workflow, and then looking at creating that document, declaring it as a record before it gets disposed in by the normal the disposition schedule. And before we go to that demonstration, I want to talk about Inplace Records. This is something quite different from the traditional records management systems out there. The Alfresco has a document management space and then a record management space. The idea is that you collaborate, working on the documents, and once they're ready, once they've been approved, once they're complete, then you basically declare them as records. And the fact of declaring them as records basically locks those records. It means that the records are now cannot be deleted, cannot be modified, they are basically locked. And that is called Inplace Records. The idea is that every single member of staff is actually potentially a records contributor. I won't say records manager, but a contributor to the records. And they should just be able to go, this is a contract, this is a record. Click, and it declares the record. We'll see how this works in real life. Claudia, you're going to be driving.
Mm-hmm.
Claudia is my expert now. She did last week. Therefore, Claudia, thank you very much for just taking this role on, and I'll change to this side. And what we'll do is we'll log in to Alfresco. I'll show you very briefly what the dashboard is. Not going to spend very much time on it, but the idea is that every user has got his or her own dashboard. The idea there is that they can customize the dashboard according to the information that is required to do their role. And so the dashboards that we have here are all customizable. I'll just quickly go through this one because it's a particularly important one. A site is a demarcated area that manages the permissions of the files within that site. In other words, if you're not a member of a site, you do not have access to that particular information. So a site will map into a line of business or a project, and so you might have an audit project, or it's difficult to find out what kind of project, but an audit project where you would have information that is specific to that project, and you would allow only the people who are enabled to access that information to be members of that site. Moving on here, we have a running list of activities that have happened on the sites that you're a member of, which means that you can actually know what kind of information has been accessed, has been uploaded, has been reviewed. And so constantly you are aware of what's happening here. A bit like Facebook. I don't think I've ever mentioned that. But anyway, My Documents is a dashboard that allows you to access documents rapidly, documents that you may have been modifying some time ago. This is to remove the syndrome of, I left on a holiday 3 weeks ago, I'm coming back here, and I just can't remember where those documents were. Well, you have that whole list here, and a quick access to each one of those is actually a link so you can access it directly. And then the last one that we'll actually see here is my tasks. This is where tasks are allocated to you, are the ones where you can grab hold of them and then work through. And we'll look at that when we do a workflow. Moving on to one of those sites, you will see, we'll go to the Alfresco demo site. Thank you, Claudia. And you'll see that the site itself has got its own dashboard. It does have a dashboard that's quite different. I'll highlight a couple of things here. The first one is a wiki, which allows you to explain to the people who use the site just what that wiki is all about. And this one allows you, has got links, so you can link directly to the files, or you can email directly people from there if you need help, for example. This is an example of it. It's just a demo site, so I'll keep it quite simple. We have some images here. That's because we had a presentation very similar talking about digital asset management. So if you want us to talk about digital asset management, just call on us. And I want to look at the next bit here, which is a dashboard on the analytics, the Alfresco analytics, allows you to look at the makeup of all the files within the system. There's a variety of other reports that the Alfresco analytics module offers. This is just one of the examples. Let's move on now to the files themselves, and we're going to look at creating a file. The concept here is that you can actually, let's go into contracts, and we'll go into demo. We've got a couple of files here. Peter, do you know whether we have a file we can drag and drop into here?
Yep.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a file that comes straight out of the desktop, and we're going to drag it into Alfresco. And that's how simple it is just to ingest a file. Naturally, we have other buttons here that allow us to create documents and folders directly from Alfresco, but ingesting it that way by just dragging and dropping is a very powerful paradigm. What you see here is the file name. You'll see that the system has already worked out some information that is pertinent to the file. So it's actually worked out the metadata from the file itself. What we'll do now is we'll look at the file itself. So we go to this one. Yeah. What we have here is a document viewer. It provides a large amount of information, in particular, the idea that you can see what the document is about without having to download it. The worst thing that we can imagine is you having to download a document, open it up to find out whether the file name is the right file name. On this side here, we have a number of actions that we can take on that document, and we'll look at a small amount of those a bit later on. Scrolling down, we have some, a bit further down, and we have some properties. You will see that the properties side of things here is the metadata that has been picked from the document. Again, that metadata is specific to the type of document. If it had been, for example, a video file, you would have got a whole collection of other information that is collected by the system automatically from the device itself, from the file itself. What we're going to do now is we're going to show the editing. So Alfresco supports a version management, and so you always know that when you're accessing the file, you're always looking at the latest version. So what we'll do is we can't really edit this particular file, can we?
Upload it, right?
So let's create, let's go back to the, sorry, this is called the demo thing. Every now and again, you get off on a limb and you think that you have done wrong. So let's just click on demo again. We'll create a document file. This is going to make things a lot easier. And we'll create that file. We'll take it from a template, and we'll just take the first one. Yeah. We just create a Word document within Alfresco. What we'll do is we'll do exactly that. We'll edit offline, so click on it.
Oh, sorry.
You're doing good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to edit it offline. The reason we're going to do that is because we want to take the document out of Alfresco to be able to edit it with Word. Although we can actually do all sorts of things online, we'll do this one. And what happens here is that you can see behind here we've got the document has actually been locked. So there's a banner showing that the document is locked, and in particular, anybody wanting to access that document can see it, but can't edit it because it's locked. So what, thank you. So what Claudia has done, she's edited the document. We're going to save it. Remember where we saved it. And on the desktop, that's a great idea. And then what we're going to do is to upload a new version. So let's upload the version. We'll select the file, and here you have an opportunity to select whether you're going to do minor version or a major version. Minor version is minor changes. Major version might be a whole rewrite of a section or a new edition of some document. So this is a minor version because something, not very much has been changed into it. So one thing here, the first one is, can you reload the page? This is a demo system, and so every now and again this happens, mainly because I'm trying to convince Peter to give me more resources, right? More memory. Okay, now what I want to show you really here is the fact that the version number has actually changed. And if we scroll down to the bottom of the page, we will see that there is the version history. So this is a document that Claudia created. This is the document that she's uploaded. You'll see here that there are a number of little buttons here that we can actually use. We can actually revert back to an older version. We can download that version. We can also look at the metadata that was associated with that document. So you have total control of what happens on the version of the document, that it keeps all of the versions there, so that you know that when you're accessing that file, you're looking at the latest version. Now that we've edited the file, we're going to start a workflow, and to do that, we basically just one button. Now, out of the box, Alfresco comes with a limited number of workflows. There's an ad hoc task and some review and approved tasks. We've added some that are customized. What we'll do is we'll take the review and approve with a single reviewer. We'll typically put a meaningful message, and we can set a due date on it. This will allow us to measure, to find out when documents are overdue. We can set the priority. Be aware that if everything is high, nothing is high. And we'll allocate it to some form of, let's put Carla. So we'll allocate this to Carla, who is a regular user. You'll find out here that we have the document itself. We have a link to the document, so you can actually open the document. You can also add other documents. But what's important here is that we have an email that is sent to the people who this task is allocated to. And that means that when we start the workflow, that means that they can access the task directly from their email. So what happens is that we're going to log out as an administrator and log back in as Carla. And the password is secret or something like that. Magic. Oh, what do you know? So where does Carla find her tasks? Under her home page. So we'll go to the dashboard, and you will see that if we scroll down, she has this new task that has just been created. So what she would do is click on that link. She would then review the document, approve it, put a comment, and then just click the word approve. And once that is done, her task has disappeared, and we'll log back in now as administrator. The system will have actually generated a new task. Now that the task has been approved, it will generate a new task to complete the loop. So letting the originator know that the task has been completed, the document has been reviewed and approved. And what the administrator does here is just go task done, and that's it. Fantastic. The document has now been created, edited. We saw the version. We looked at an approval workflow. Now we're going to look at how the documents are created into the applicator's record. So let's take that one. Why not? We'll pick this one, and imagine that you are just a member of staff with a document that's now really important, and you want to declare it as a record. So what we do here is we click on this button called Declare as Record, and that's as much as the member of staff needs to do. They basically put it onto the records manager's side of things, and the record has got an identifier. It's got some information pertaining to the record, but if you look up at the top, you will see that the actions has now dramatically reduced, right? So we're now looking at not being able to modify the record, not being able to delete it. It is completely locked. So what would the record manager do? The record manager would actually go to the record management site. And they do that, in my case, we've got a favorite site here. So the record manager would go into the file plan, and the record has now been put into the record management space as an unfiled record. So we'll go into this special folder called unfiled records, and this is where the record manager will get all of the documents when they're declared as records by the members of staff. What they do then is to work on this document, to enhance the metadata, complete it, and then do the necessary bits and pieces before filing the record. So what we'll do here is, just hovering over it, you can see that there are a number of actions we can take here, like editing the metadata. We'll skip that part, and we'll go straight into completing the record. And once that is done, we can then go into filing it. So if you go more, and we'll go file the document, and we'll file it under miscellaneous files. Right, put them under monthly cockpit crew training. That sounds like the right thing. Yes. And the document is now filed under its appropriate position. Now, imagine if the record manager had to do that with every single record, which they would, wouldn't they? The trick here is that we can automate, and I'm not going to go into the detail right here, we can automate the folder and put rules on it so that if a document has certain properties, that filing can happen automatically. So certain documents like invoices, like bank statements, etc., that need to be kept as well, can all be automated, making the records manager's life a lot easier. And that, at the end of the day, is a really important aspect, especially when you need to get information back from them, right? So one of the aspects that we have here is a disposition schedule. I'm going to go into that. Let's click on miscellaneous files. And we'll take the monthly cockpit crew. Yeah, we'll take this. Hang on, sorry. This is where the document is. Let's click on this monthly cockpit crew training. Now, and again, right. We have what is called a disposition schedule associated here. Now, this one has got an authority, so it's basically according to this particular, what do you call them? Stuff you need to do, right? The authority. Now, we have the disposition instructions, which is to cut off after training is complete, and then after 1 year to destroy. This is just a summary of the disposition schedule, but what we have is actual steps. And so what we can do here is edit those steps. If you click on edit, we'll see here those steps declare exactly what's going to happen to the record itself. So in this case here, once the training is complete, and that's a manual event, the record itself will be cut off. And then, if we cancel out of that one, we look at the destruction one, we'll see that after 1 year, after that cutoff date, the records will be destroyed. And they'll be destroyed, okay? You can actually select to maintain the record metadata, which means know that the record has existed, but that the record itself will have disappeared. Now, some people like to know that it's been reviewed before you destroy it automatically. So what we can do is add a little event here. If you click on add event, you can add an event here that says, you have to scroll down. Two fingers, and click on that little, there you go. So review before destruction. And so you click on that one and you say, hang on, what I'll do is I'll change the rule here to make it when both events are, if you click here, I like the way that you have to look back. Excellent. So what this means is that the document will not be destroyed until somebody has manually reviewed it, right? But once it's been reviewed, then clearly the action will take place. Now, what we've done is we've gone fairly quickly through the creation of a document, through the editing, looking at the version. We've gone through the approval of the document. We've created that document as a record. It now sits within that space. And once that year is gone, that document will be destroyed once we've reviewed and approved that destruction. We've gone fairly quickly through that process, but mainly because we do have a guest speaker with Mark, and what I want to do now is to move on